Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where experts in the field inform, educate and inspire the community to be healthier, more balanced and live the lifestyle they love. Our first guest today, Anthony Kilner, is a psychic medium and author, and the topic we'll be discussing is how dreams help us in everyday life. Welcome, Anthony.
Thanks for having me, Megan.
So, Anthony, what is a dream and why is it important?
Everybody dreams. Animals dream. People have been dreaming for centuries. And a dream is a message that comes down from your soul collective. So it's the sum of all your souls together through what we call the superconsciousness to our subconsciousness. And then we have that dream during the night or during our sleep state. So it doesn't have to happen just at night. And then that comes to our consciousness and we have to interpret that. And the way we interpret that is, if we have subjective, it means it needs interpretation, and that's what a dream is based around. If it's objective, it's real. And so where we look at what happens with a dream is, it comes through as a message, and it'll be quite often muted in colour. For older people, I normally say it's like a black and white cartoon on a colour TV. It's muted. You tend to watch it rather than be a part of it. And it's a message for you to help you to move forward. So why it helps you in everyday life is being able to interpret that message. And people like Sigmund Freud and Jung all specialised in trying to work out what these interpretations were and are and how they can then help the person. And sort of skipping forward, we just have a broader interpretation now because there's so many more distractions in our lives. So there's so many more things in our minds that the message can work with. So how it helps us in our everyday life is it gives us an understanding of what's happening around us. And so we take that understanding and we change our lives accordingly, and then of course that dream will go away. The part of that that's really important to note is that we have to interpret what it means to get the best out of it. So for example, you have a dream where you see yourself driving along a road. You can't quite see the colour of the car, but let's say it's blue. And you get a sense that it's blue. And you're driving along the road and you go off the road and then it gets rougher and rougher and you start climbing up a mountain and you get to the top of the mountain and in the distance you can just see the sun coming up. And you think, wow, what does all that mean? It's a bit interesting. So what it really means is, in the person's direction, represented by the vehicle, there's a lot of communication issues that are coming up for them, represented by the blue of the vehicle. Going from the smooth road to the rough road means that there's going to be a situation in their life that requires some really good, solid interpretation and communication with to help them get to the top of the hill. When they get to the top of the hill and they see the sunrise coming up, then what that means is that they've got there, they've done the work, everything's getting better, and from there on in it's a lot smoother. So it's all those little things like that. Now it can also, in a dream, you might see yourself with a loved one or with family and friends, and so you have to interpret what does that mean. And quite often, instead of it being the family or the friends, it means aspects within yourself need to be addressed. So for example, you might have a dream where your mum's there and your mum's telling you to cook this food in a specific way. And there's a lot of anger around it and pots going everywhere. It's not your mum as such. It's her energy that you hold within you and about how you are looking after yourself on a nutritional level. And that the anger and frustration that's within you is showing and coming out. And you need to let that come out and look after yourself properly. So it's really quite intricate. In the more detail you get, the more you can actually interpret to help you to move forward in life.
What happens when we have a reoccurring dream and how can we change that?
Reoccurring dreams, Megan, are really interesting because it means the person's not understanding the message that they're getting from their original dream. And so it keeps getting worse and worse and worse until we actually take note of what that dream is. And so the way to deal with them is really interesting, because we quite often, people will say to me, oh, they've remembered the same dream over and over and over and over again. Well, that's their soul telling them they have to change, and most people get to a point they don't want to change. So the dream gets nastier and nastier. The really good thing about how to deal with them is take note of all the details in that dream, see how it works in your life, and then make a change. And once you make that change, the dream quite often goes away. It might lessen down because you've only made part of the change. It really, if we're talking about our soul collective giving us those messages, that's because they've got our best interests at heart. And if everything was all beautiful and fluffy and light, we'd never change. So it has to get graphic, because otherwise people aren't going to take any notice of it. And that's the way to deal with it.
What tips can you offer for our viewers in terms of them looking at their own dreams?
Well, there are quite a few tips we can really suggest. The first one is go to bed with a pen and paper. As soon as you wake up or you come back from that dream, write down as much detail as possible. Because when it comes to interpreting that information, the more detail, the more accurate a person can work it out. All right, so that's the first big tip. The second tip I say to people is to be open to what's coming through and then establish sort of the differences. And so to do that, you need a really good book or reference material that explains what does a house represent, what does a car represent, what are all the different aspects of things subjectively and how they're interpreted, even down to colour. So good reference material, good dream interpretation book will make a big difference. The last tip would be to go and see somebody that specialises in dream interpretation, because there is a big difference between dreaming and astral travel. And so a good interpretation will tell you, oh, that was that, this is the dream, this is how to get yourself back on to track with the right information. And that's probably the most important thing. If you can't work it out yourself, go and see someone that can help you. That will help you get your life back on track.
Thanks, Anthony. That's such great information. If you'd like to know more about Anthony Kilner and how dreams help us in our everyday lives, please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we have another interesting guest with another interesting topic.
After the break, lymphologist Sean Connell is talking about ways to improve your immune system, so stay tuned. Welcome back, and next we have Sean Connell back with us, who's a lymphologist, and today he's talking about the immune system. So welcome back, Sean.
Thank you.
And the immune system today, so can you tell us more about that?
Okay, so our immune system is our white blood cells. So our immune system actually starts at our coccyx bone. Our coccyx bone vibrates and that pumps our bone marrow. And then all the bone marrow make the white blood cells, and the white blood cells get sent to our thymus gland right in the middle of the chest to make the T cells, killer T cells, and all the things that will run around and clean up all the viruses and bacteria and the unwanted things in our body that are upsetting our immune system. So a lot of people rub Vicks on their chest and they think it's for the smell, but it's not. It's for the thymus gland, which is your immune system.
Can you tell us a bit more about how the immune system works?
Okay, so when we have inflammation in the body, there's no oxygen. Now the challenge with that is the white blood cells need oxygen to run around and clean up all the cancer, the viruses and the bacteria, the things that aren't supposed to be there. So when we have inflammation in the body, the immune system's not working in that area. So what your cells will actually do is, because there's no oxygen, the cell is technically off, because it needs oxygen to work. So what the cell will do is go into spontaneous firing, creating heat. So it'll use heat to try and kill the bacteria, the viruses and the cancer that's not supposed to be there. So this is why your body gets a fever. So every degree that you increase the temperature in your body is doubling your immune system. So it's doubling the white blood cells to get into that area and clean up all the unwanted bacteria, viruses and the germs that are not meant to be there.
We have germs and parasites and things in our bodies all the time, is that correct?
That's right. We have to live in harmony with those. So when they get out of balance, our immune system will just go in there and clean that up. Also, a lot of people don't realise that we have 1 million bugs in us. So a lot of Lyme's disease out there at the moment, people suffering. So when there's lack of oxygen, those bugs wake up. So the oxygen keeps them asleep. So when they wake up, they're hungry, so they want to eat. So they actually start to eat us, and that's where all the challenges come from. So increase that oxygen, that'll put the bugs back to sleep, that'll boost your immune system back up, and everything's back to normal.
So Sean, when you talk about the oxygen and the white cells, how can we increase the oxygen in our body?
Well, the oxygen's coming from the bloodstream, and so when there's inflammation in the body, there's no oxygen in that area. So the only way to remove that inflammation is through the lymphatic system. So we have to remove that inflammation out of the body. Then the oxygen can get to the cells, and then the white blood cells can clean everything up, and our metabolism can turn on, which creates the energy, and this is why health is energy.
And you talked before, I know, about the four different ways of increasing the oxygen is that correct?
So yeah, there's 4 ways to activate the lymphatic system. So deep breathing, bouncing, stroking and energy. So when the lymphatic system's moving, that'll move the inflammation and dead cells, toxins away from the cells, and then more oxygen can get to the cells. So when there's more oxygen around the cells, the white blood cells can work, and they'll just go around and clean up all the cancer, the viruses, the bacteria, the things that aren't supposed to be there.
So Sean, what would your best advice for our viewers to be around the immune system?
Well, we must keep the lymphatic system moving to remove that inflammation out of the body so we can get more oxygen into the cells. So when there's more oxygen there, the white blood cells can go around and clean everything up. Also, our stomach acid is so important. So we need the proper stomach acid so we can have a proper immune system. Also, there's a gene that we work with, the MTHFR gene. So if that's not working properly, which 50% of the population around the world have a dysfunction with this gene. So this gene helps make the T cells and natural killer T cells that help clean up our body as well. Vitamins and very, very important. So vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin D3. We must keep on top of that with good nutrition. So, and also health is energy. So the more energy we have, the more health we have, and then the body can regenerate and work the way it's supposed to. And we have a lot of new technology out there that really, really helps the body to increase that energy and remove that inflammation and allow the body to regenerate and heal itself. So yeah, and there's a lot of professionals out there now specialising in the lymphatic drainage and energy and how the body works and what we can do to make the body more healthy and regenerate and have a better life.
And as you said before, bring better balance.
Balance, yeah, balance.
Thanks so much for that, Sean. And for more information about Sean Connell and the immune system, then please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we'll go to break and see you back afterwards with another wonderful guest.
Stay tuned. After the break, yoga for wellbeing instructor and author Pauline Rooney is talking about chair yoga.
Welcome back, and now we have Pauline Rooney back with us, our Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author, and today the topic is chair yoga. So Pauline, welcome.
Thanks, Linda. It's lovely to be back.
And chair yoga, how is that? What does chair yoga entail?
That's a really great question, and it's something that many people get confused about and wonder if it's the same or, well, it's not the same, but it is. That's a bit of a contradiction. If you can do a posture on the floor, you can do it in a chair. And the advantage of doing yoga in a chair is you might have had an injury, you might not feel like getting onto the floor, you may not have the space to get onto the floor, or you might be a little bit more gorgeous in years, so therefore you're unable to get onto the floor. But yoga is all about the three. It's the breathing, it's the posture, and it is the mindset. So therefore, if you can have those three on a mat, you can have those three on a chair. We can do our spinal twists on a chair, just like that. You'd always do it to both sides. Even to the triangle poses in the standing, we won't stand, but you hang on to your chair. I'm a great believer in safety, Linda. If you're on wheels, you must lock them down or have your chair very secure. Safety's paramount. So you'd come out the side of your chair, checking the shoulders not up, that it's down, and you'd ease out like that. Now that's a lateral or a side bend to your spine. Same as on the floor. You do that on both sides, you see. So it keeps the body moving. Any movement is good movement. We don't just do the movement and forget about our breath and our mind application to it. So we would say breathe in and turn and breathe out, and then breathe naturally, and then breathe in and coming back, and then breathe out. So your breath movement is the same on the mat as it is in a chair. Forward bends, we can bring the legs out a little bit and stretch our spine. You'd never arch up because you wouldn't do that on the mat. So you extend and you come forward. Ankle work. How often have we heard, oh, my ankles are weak and I find it hard to balance or to walk? In your chair, circle your ankles. You'd go both ways and you'd do both ankles, and just that very gentle movement, that will help. The other one that I really like for bone density, hands back on the chair, right foot always slightly forward, and that has to do with the positioning of lifting. When you see people standing, they often come forward and lift like that. That's too much strain. So by putting that foot forward, holding your chair back, you lift from there. It's a straight lift. You can come straight up to stand, but that's enough work. Even if you're unable to lift, you can still push like that. You're still getting the bone density work in your arms. So it's a matter of modifying, but creating the same outcome. It's the outcome, it's the intent, your breath, your mindset. Again, you keep your mind focused. If you're on the mat, you're internalizing what you're doing, your breathing, your posture, your alignment. It's exactly the same on the chair. You're not thinking about anything else. You're really working into that body part. The other one, we often hear people say, oh, but what about our heart rate, the cardiovasculars? We've got that covered in chair yoga and mat yoga. And I like to call this a tushy swoosh, because we're going to hang on and swoosh our tushy from side to side. Slow is great, or you can go quite fast. You're safe because you're not standing up and what have you, and your cardiovasculars will pump along quite nicely. So there's many of those types of things. You can hang onto your chair and move your feet back and forward. Again, that is fantastic for the ankles, the knees, the hip, also the abdomen, because you're lifting to bring your legs out, so that's working there too. There's many things we can do in that chair. All of these will help us in balance, and we all know that we need to balance when we're on our feet. So lifting the leg and extending and swinging back like that, you're strengthening your hip joint area, and therefore, of course, that helps when you stand up, the strength in the hip joint.
So I suppose with people with especially with ongoing over the last several years, with more work being done on computers, from work from home, online, no matter what the age group. I suppose that this is something that people can think about when they're having even during the work.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. This covers right across the range. Children, they're on games, and the average time for children under the age of 16 is 8 hours, and that's a lot of screen time on top of their schooling time. Right? And then I think at 16 and over it becomes 15 hours and more. That I'd be very conservative in saying that. And if they're gaming or chatting to friends, they too can do this. And they don't even realise that they're doing something great for their body. You know, it's really important. And I must say, I notice that both of us smile. And that's a really good thing to do too, because it takes about 16 muscles to smile and 32 to frown. So it's very harsh on the face if you're frowning a little bit too much. So smiling is good. It also changes the mindset, right? So if you're feeling a bit sad and you're sitting there feeling, I'm sad, it doesn't do the mind, the body any good, Linda. So a big smile and a big breath and a little movement will change your day completely. It's really important. And teach our children to do these things. If they can learn at a very early age that it's simple to do, because they're busy. We're all busy. We don't always have time to get onto the mat every day. We might go to a class, but if we do something every day in the chair, we would notice a huge difference. It'd be fantastic.
What would your best advice be for people could take with them today?
Oh, the best tip I could give is what I call juicing up your knees. And our knees get stiff and sore. This one, you blow into your hands, rub them, have your fingers down because that helps to warm up more quickly. Warm them up, cup your hands. We just have the lightly over there, and it's like a figure eight lying down, and we move our knees around like that about 7 times. That's all you need to do, and then go back the other way. And I can pretty much guarantee you're going to find a huge difference in those knees. They're going to love you so much for juicing them up. It's amazing. If you're in the garden or sitting, anything like that, it's fantastic.
Wonderful. Thanks, Pauline.
You're very welcome.
And we'll be back next week with more amazing guests. But in the meantime, for more about Pauline Rooney and yoga for wellbeing, and particularly chair yoga, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll see you next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.